Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Real Talk with Mrs. Fams. How are you today? I'm delighted to join you on today's program on Real Talk with Mrs. Fams. So, today, the topic is when family becomes too involved. When families become too involved, protecting your marriage without disrespecting your roots. So how do you protect your marriage when family becomes too involved in your, in your relationship, in your affairs? You know, today's topic is going to be a very, very interesting one. But first, I want to thank all our listeners, for tuning in today, and for all our callers, all people who have been involved with us, in the past. I just want to say thank you. Without you, this program, is nothing. So I just want to appreciate your continuous support over the weeks, over the months. I just wanted to say thank you. And I want to remind people that you can, send your messages, voice note, if you need to reach out to your loved ones. And by the way, happy first Sunday. Happy first Sunday, right? Because I know a lot of people have gone to church today. You know the way it is, first Sunday of the month, and we spend a lot of time thanking God because we have every reason to thank God. So, going back to today's topic, marriage is one of the most beautiful relationships we can experience, but it can also become one of the most challenging when extended families become too involved. It can be very, very challenging. So today's discussion is not about disrespecting families. It is not about disrespecting parents. It is not about disrespecting siblings or in-laws. I'm going to repeat. Today's topic, it's not about disrespecting families, siblings, in-laws, or, people around us, or friends, neighbors. It's not about disrespecting them. It's about understanding where love ends and where control begins. So it's about understanding where love ends and where control begins. Many of us comes from cultures where everything is about family. We are taught to honor our parents, we are taught to honor our siblings, and to remain committed to our roots. But after marriage, a family is created. After marriage, a family is created. So today's question is, how do we protect our family? How do we protect our marriage without disrespecting our roots? So when two people get married, they become one family. We all know that. Your parents remain very important. Your siblings remain important. But your spouse becomes your life partner. Protecting that relationship is not disrespect. It is responsibility. So when you become one, when you get married, your partner, I'm going to repeat, becomes your life partner. And that relationship is meant to be protected, and it is not meant to be seen as being disrespectful. It is just an act of responsibility. So there's a difference between support and interference. So I'm, referring back to our siblings, our in-laws, people around us who truly care about us. A healthy family support includes encouragement, advice when requested, respecting boundaries, celebrating couples' decisions. Unhealthy interference includes making decisions for the couple. I'm going to repeat this one. It's unhealthy when you have to make decisions for the couples, when you control their finances, when you take sides during disagreements, or even when you invade the couple's privacy. So boundaries are not a form of disrespect. Boundaries are not disrespect. Many people struggle to say no. But saying no It's not a form of disrespect. People can say thank you for your advice, we will discuss it later. That's rather respectful. So when you approach a family or a newly wedded couple and they say to you, oh, thank you mommy for your advice, thank you daddy, or thank you uncle, thank you sister for your advice, we will discuss it later, that does not mean they are disrespecting you. That's actually being respectful. Boundaries protect that kind of relationship, they don't destroy them. So turning every family disagreement into a family meeting. So not everything that you have, like when arguments happen between couples, it is not every time that, couples need to take disagreements to their families. Sometimes, the marriage needs to, the couple need to come together and discuss things without taking it outside of that home. Because when you're angry, when you're really, really angry, things happen in the family. And, the way you feel, you just, pour it out like that. The people receiving, yes, because they are yours, they're your blood, they care about you. Of course, they're not happy, And do you know what happens? They never, ever forget. Now, after saying your mind, saying your piece, you said everything that you wanted to say. Oh, my husband has done this to me, I can never forgive him, I can never forget what he has done. Or my wife has done this to me, she has ridiculed me, she has done this to me in front of the children, in front of our friends. You just pour it out as it is. That's fine. But do you know people don't forget? Like when you say this to your sister or your mom or your dad, they're like, okay, yes, they want peace, they don't want your marriage to they don't want to break up in your family, but they have that resentment, they still never forget. So they always referring back, even when you are forgotten about it, they will still keep referring back to what that person has done. And most of the time people will still reference that incident or those incidents even when you are forgotten completely about it. And then you're like, come on mommy, this was like 2 years ago, or this was 10 years ago, or dad, this was like 10-15 years ago. Why are you still referring to that? For example, in some marriages, the husband allows his own mother to choose the furniture, the curtains, the decorations for his new home. So the wife may feel like a visitor in her own home, and the husband would think he is just honoring his own mother. The mother is the one that will choose the design for the kitchen, that will choose the curtain, that will say, oh, this is the area that you should live in, or this is the kind of friends that you should keep. And then the wife feels ignored. In this kind of relationship, who should make decisions inside the married home? Personally, I think it's meant to be the couple. Outside of that is intruding, as far as I'm concerned. It should be the husband and the wife that should decide what area they want to live, how they want to design their homes, how many children they want to have, how most of the time. I cannot say maybe a woman is the one that would decide the design, because some men are very, very good with designs. They have that idea of, they communicate with each other obviously, but some men are really good with designing the home. And if the wife is fine with that idea, why not? But then if that idea has to come from a sister-in-law or a brother-in-law and the wife is not involved, I think there will be a problem. And again, another example is when every argument become public. Every time there's an argument, it goes out. The wife calls her sisters, the husband calls his mother. Soon everybody knows their business. The marriage may recover, but the families don't. So does involving everyone help, or does it make it worse? does everybody needs to know anytime there's an argument in the home? Oh, my sister has to know because we've always been there for each other. Why won't she know that I have an argument with my husband? And then the husband will like, my mom has been my rock. She has been there for me all my life. Anytime I have an argument, I have to go back to her, which is fine. We need our families for support. But does it have to be every time? Because when we build our homes, our families or marriages in this kind of context, where we're giving other people there's no boundaries, you understand, but at the same time we're letting them know. So anytime that they don't hear from you, maybe in a week or two, they'll be like, what's going on? What's going on? You and your wife, is everything okay? That's because they're used to you calling them every minute. They're used to the wife saying, oh, my husband is this, my husband is that, or my wife is this, my wife is that. That's so unhealthy. Another example is when supporting your family and then your home suffers for it. So a husband would normally, being a responsible person, send money home to their families, their relatives back home. Eventually, it may come to a point where they are struggling to pay their own rent. A wife, of course, is not against, the husband helping. The only thing she's against is this help is affecting her own home. And, that's a big problem. So, as I was saying, I'm going to go to another example now, which is parenting by committee. So, I know every grandparent has an advice, every auntie has an advice, and then when the couple politely say, we appreciate your advice, but we will make a final decision, on this particular issue, then their confidence is returned to them. Another one is the good in-law, where the mother-in-law says, I'm here if you need advice. As a mother, because I have men, my children are men now, they're no longer boys, so I know I can say the same thing, like, if you need advice, I'm here to help. But the thing is, I should let them know that their wives come first, and that's how to build a strong marriage, so that they can trust each other, when issues come up, and not run to me like a boy every time there's an argument in the family. That way, the relationship will become stronger for both of them, and then everyone would have their boundaries, and there will be peace in the family for them. There's cultural expectations as well. A newly wedded wife is expected to cook, and maybe they just only got married, and every weekend family members come to their home, say about 20 or 10 or 5, and this woman, the new wife, goes to work Monday to Friday, very, very busy, leaves very early in the morning and comes back late at night, have like maybe one child or 2 or 3, and then every weekend, maybe on a Saturday, on a Sunday, it is their norm for family members to come and visit. Because she works full-time, like I said, she's exhausted. Her husband has finally explained to his family that we need a balance here. Eventually, maybe they understand, or maybe they don't understand. So when they don't, the thing now is, if they don't understand, the wife is going to be in trouble, because family members will not understand why we can't come every Sunday. Because before my my sister married you, or I'm talking about vice versa now, before they got married to you, this is like a tradition. We always meet up every Sunday in his house or in her house. But don't forget that this is a new family, and they have children, they have responsibilities. I think families should kind of understand more that it cannot be the same thing, you know, prior to them getting married to each other, and not see it as a form of the wife not wanting to see the family. Maybe that Sunday is the only day they have to rest, or do laundry, or even catch up with each other, because most of the time during the week the husband has gone to work, the wife has gone to work. Maybe that Sunday or that Saturday is just the time for them to catch up as a family with their children as well. So I'll just give you another example where the decision now comes from the mother. The husband runs to his mother. Mom, I want to buy a new car. What do you think? I want to change my job. I'm planning holiday. And maybe the wife is the one saying to the husband now, my husband, can we go on a holiday? Can we get a new house? This house is too small, or this house is too big. Can we downsize? Okay. And then the husband replies, let me ask my mom first. Many women will not be too happy, because every time we have a discussion in the house, you have to ask your mom, and for your mom to consent to it before that decision is being made or taken. And the wife asks politely, who did you marry? That question to a lot of men may come like offensive, but in the actual fact, who did you actually marry? Because a mother's role is different from the role of a wife. If every time we have a discussion and then you have to take it to your mother, or you have to take it, the wife have to take it to her own parent before giving a response, that's a red flag in their marriage, and that's not going to end very, very well, because they're going to keep arguing about nagging each other. Okay, so you have to go and take consent from your mother, and that won't go down well with if anyone was talking down on one of their own parents, so that's going to bring an argument. Another thing is when the daughter who couldn't say no, a wife now who cannot say no to their own parents. Every weekend she has to visit her parents. I understand, maybe you have to provide care. Maybe the parents are elderly where you're needed to look after them every weekend, which is fine. The husband also say, I need quality time with you. I think there should be communication between them where there will be a balance of, okay, can we do two times 2 weekends in a month where we have to go and visit your parents, and the other 2 months let us arrange somebody else who would who will carry out that role, so that we will have time for ourselves. And the parents, we would need to explain to them that this is what we need to do for the other 2 weeks, because explain that I need to spend quality, there's no need to lie, explain that I need to spend quality time with my husband or with my wife, or things that you need to do. And one shouldn't feel guilty saying that. Eventually the marriage will suffer if you don't know how to say no, and you feel you have to please everyone every time. That marriage may eventually suffer, because saying no should not be seen as a form, as being disrespectful. It should be seen as somebody who knows what they are doing, and who, in fact, I see it as a form of respect. Because when you say no to certain things, means that you are in control of your relationship and you want the best. And if you can keep the balance, the boundaries is there, I think is the right thing to do. Another one is when the wedding never ended. So this is where the in-laws decide how many children they have, or they should have. Let's think about the names even. In some marriages, a wife would want to name their children, they want to call their child a certain name. In some cultures, the father of the husband is the one that would give the name, or the mother of the husband is the one that will give the name. But the mother of the child, I feel, has a right as well to name their child and call their child the name that they wish. This simple thing that I've said has caused a lot of trouble, because the husband's mom comes to the family and said, this child, I named this child Chigose or Shegun or Bola. Why are you calling her Charles? Why are you calling this girl Sophie? And this becomes a trouble. I mean, this becomes issues within the family if care is not taken, and if it's not properly managed. If the couple don't come together to explain to maybe the mom or the dad or the auntie or the uncle or the sister or the brother who has named that child a particular one, that is, and they are not calling that child what the family has named them. I think the couple should come together and be bold enough to say, okay daddy, okay mommy, you have named this child Prince or Junior, whatever name, but me and my wife, we prefer to call this child Ogolua or whatever name, and we don't want you to be angry over it. It is not that we're disrespecting you, but this is what me and my wife want to call this child. So I don't think that should cause problem within families if you explain in a way that they would understand. Another thing is when a husband borrows money, maybe taking out loans, or a wife take out a loan to help their immediate family, a brother or a sister, and they never tell the other part, they didn't involve or inform their partner. So they go out there, maybe some to the bank, maybe through their credit card, or just taking out loans, and the wife now becomes upset, not because you want to help a family member, but because you did not involve them or inform them that you're doing this thing. And then this cause a major financial issues, because when you take out that loan, one way or the other, the wife will be affected automatically, because if you take out a loan and you're struggling and you're not meeting up with your own task, but when you involve your other partner and let them know, babes, my brother is in need of money, we need around maybe 10 to 15,000 pounds or something, how can we go about it? And then two of you come together and okay, let's do this, let's do that. When are they going to start paying back? Or what if they are not able to pay back? What is our option B? What is our plan B? You guys come together, and so even when you're now presenting to the brother or the sister that's requesting for that for that favor, you would let them know, my brother or my sister, this thing that I'm going to do now, my wife is aware of it, so it's not just me. So I think as much as possible to not create unnecessary issues within the family, I think husband and wife should carry each other along in every decision making. Some of the other issues include when a husband would call his mother every time he argues with his wife. I know I mentioned this before, but this is a major one in most marriages that is causing a lot of issues. Every argument, the husband would call the mother. I think what mothers should do is, sometimes the mother could say, stop calling me every time. Talk to your wife if you have issues. That's your home now. I think mothers should try, because these men are no longer babies, and if they come crying to you every minute, some go as far as, mom, we haven't spoken to each other in days or in months, and if the mother does not put the boundary or does not draw the line, they would think the right thing is to keep going back every time to the mother. So the mother needs, that's the mother-in-law now, needs to set that boundary, sometimes, and say, go back to your wife, talk to your wife, that's your home now. So the wisest parent, as far as I'm concerned, they know when to step back. Stepping back does not mean that they are wicked or they don't want to be involved in what is going on in their children, in their son's family, or in their daughter's marriage, but it is a form of, when it is a way to step back, to make to make sure that marriage works for them. Because when this family is at peace, then they would be at peace, because at the end of the day, when they have issues and they're used to coming to you every minute, they would not know how to handle it. Then how are they going to bring up their own children as well? It's going to continue like a cycle, which is not healthy. Another one is when the marriage, a man starts spending weekends with his wife and children, and the siblings start complaining. You've changed, remember when we first started the show, I mentioned that for some families it is a norm for families to visit, every Saturday or every Sunday, where they will be entertained and they will have family meetings and discuss issues and all of that. But now that the husband or the wife, maybe they work Monday to Friday, they have children, they want to make up, or even take their own immediate family house during the weekend, then the siblings, like the brother or the dad, or start saying, oh, you don't have time for us again, you have changed now that you've gotten married, you don't even listen to us, your husband has taken all your time, we call you, you hardly return our calls, we call you, we text you, you hardly return our texts, your priorities have changed, you don't love us like you used to. I feel that that's some form of emotional blackmail, and we should be mindful that when you say these things and this man or this woman does not mean, have to do what they have to do, and does not mean to hurt you in one way or the other, or disrespect you or disregard you. I feel when you start saying that constantly, see, we call you, you don't pick, we send you messages, you don't reply, you hardly come for family meetings, we can't even come to your house anytime we want to come. I feel families should know when to take a step back and understand that this is a growing family, and they need their own time to build that family. I think families should understand and not use emotional blackmail, because I see that as an emotional blackmail. Another one is when a father calls his daughter, this daughter is married, every day, because I talk to my daughter every day, the dad says. The dad is the one that says what to cook, how to raise our children, how to speak to our husband. Then that is not love anymore. I feel that has turned to control. If your daughter is married and you're still the one to say what do you cook, what to cook in your house, how to talk to your husband, and how to raise your children, because this is how I raised you. Okay, fine, that's okay. The way you have raised your own daughter, that may not be the way that our own husband wants to raise his own children, because you are you and the family is another one. The fact that they are married, I think they have a right to raise their family the way they want to. So maybe you have come from a family where your doctors, your lawyers, your engineers, your nurses, your pilots, and this man just wants something else. Maybe they just want their own children to be an influencer, they want their own children to be an athlete, or they want their own children to be artists, musicians, actors, and all of that. But your dad feels, how can your husband raise a child who is not a lawyer? that would become a massive issue, and it will lead to a lot of arguments because the husband will talk and say, look, no matter what, this is my own family and this is what I want to do. And then the wife will be like, are you being disrespectful to my dad? Look at the way you're talking about my father. Does it mean that my father has not raised me well? Yes, your father has done that, but this is not your father's children. This is your husband's children. And the same way goes to the other party, which is the husband, because however they have raised you, your wife also have an input, because you're two. Marriage doesn't involve one person, it involves two people. So your wife also have a way, or have an have dreams, of the kind of children that she wants to raise. And I think that is why you're married, because you guys have so many things in common. And it should not end because of our own immediate families. The other one, another example, is family WhatsApp. This is a very funny one. The husband shares the family decisions in the group. Maybe there's something that they want to do, and before even discussing with the wife, the husband's family WhatsApp group are already aware. So the wife feels embarrassed. So, and they ask, should other people know our plans before me? And the same thing goes to the husband. The husband may ask, should other family members know about these things before me? And this turns into an argument. So this is where I think, again, couples need to know where to draw the line, discuss things with each other before taking it out there, because it will just lead to unnecessary arguments. So another example is constant comparison. When a mother-in-law or a father-in-law or a sister-in-law or a sibling constantly compare their daughter-in-law to another one. So the comparison, what it does is it oftentimes destroy people's confidence. So instead of comparing your daughter-in-law with another one, I think encouragement would have helped to build the love. Because when somebody is being compared to another every time, let us be real, this person would avoid you. When you come to the house, when you come to your family's house, they married, and the next thing when you step into the house is, look at the way you have done this, somebody's wife doesn't do it like this, somebody's husband doesn't do it like this, look at the way you have even greeted me, Amaka's husband doesn't greet me like that. When I come in, they will put this, welcome me with this amount of respect, or the food, or their children, or you don't have a child, or you have too many, or look at the school that your child is going to, you're not being fair on my son, you're not being fair on my daughter, you're too extravagant, look at the car you're driving, you're not managing, you're too, there's a lot that comparison does. And it will just destroy that person's confidence. So it may be the man that the wife's family comes to their home and say, you're just there, you're not doing anything. Maybe at the time the man is struggling to find a job, or maybe things are not just what is meant to be, and they're trying to find their feet. And this is the time that you come in and you're like, look at your husband, he's a good for nothing person, all he does is sit there on the computer, all he does all day is stuck on the phone, all he does is go out, and all of this would destroy the confidence, and they will avoid you. And when they do, it becomes another problem, and it doesn't go down with, it doesn't go well with the other party. Because when you come in, you're always saying, my husband is this, my husband is that, or my wife is this and my wife is that. Of course I'm not happy, but they cannot, maybe they have tried to explain that, look, mom, the reason why my wife is home now is because I have asked her to be home, because we have young children and I don't want her to work. so that she can look after our children. That is why she is home, not because she is lazy. Being home does not even mean that she's lazy, because that's a lot of work. Keeping the home is a lot of work. But a lot of people don't understand that homekeeping, being a homekeeper, however way people say it, is a big responsibility. It comes with ensuring that you manage the home, you make sure that you take care of the kids, you look after your husband. There's a lot. So people need to explain that that's fine. It's a decision that we've come to. That is all. Maybe it's the husband that needs to be home, looking after things. Or one might decide, look, I will work from home, you can go out. Or I would work day shift and you can work night shift. But a lot of families may not understand that this is a decision that the couple have made just for them to have a peaceful life. Or maybe it will be for a certain period, just for things to work out. Or maybe they have children, they say, okay, let's do this for 3 years, let's do this for 4 years, so that when the kids are independent, then we can have a switch. But at that time, families need to understand that they shouldn't criticize or judge, but rather to encourage and build love. Another example is helping until one lose everything. So if a couple saved for a house deposit, for an example, and the family requested for a large sum, the couple, they are saving for a house deposit, and a relative has requested for a large sum of money. So they have their dream home that they're saving for, and then a request comes from a family member who needs help. So where do they draw the line? Because if the husband's sister is the one that is requesting for help, and the wife says, my husband, I know your sister is requesting for help, but we have planned this. This is our dream. This is what we've been working hard for over the years. We don't have forever to plan this. This is the opportunity. We have seen this home. We love it. Our children have seen it. But at the same time, your sister has requested for this large amount of money. We have helped her many times. How do families understand that this couple have planned this for a long time, and to not take it as an offense if they say, sister or brother, this time I am sorry, we're not able to help because we have a plan for this money, because you want to use it as a deposit, maybe to get a mortgage, to get whatever they want to do. So another example is when there is no boundaries, when people don't set boundaries. The husband's sister enters their bedroom without knocking. Imagine you're in your own home and a relative visits. They do not knock, they just come into your room, and they criticize your wife for dressing in a certain way, they criticize your husband for dressing in a certain way, and they take your wife's clothes when she's not there. And the only thing the husband says when the wife complains is, that's my sister, that's how she behaves. But should a wife feel uncomfortable in their own home? Is that too much to say, can you speak to your sister to not touch my things without my consent? Because the sister says, whatever you have, my brother bought it for you. When you were coming from your house, what did you bring? And everything that my brother has is for my brother. Anything in his home is for him. Obviously, you don't work, or even if you do, it still belongs to my brother. And this, if it's not properly managed, would continue to cause arguments and will continue to cause family disputes. I'm going to go back to one that I have been mentioning: telling mom everything. The wife shares every marital issues with her mother. So when the husband finally says, your mother knows about this marriage more than I do, the wife then feels offended. So I feel communication has broken down, because if communication has not broken down, why does it have to be that your own mother will be the first to know everything and then your husband is there? So couples need to sit together as well and find how to mend their communication issues, and ensure that they are open with each other, they are approachable, because when one is not approachable, sometimes may lead the other half to want to confide in people outside of their home. But when they are quite approachable to each other, they feel like even before other people knows about what's going on. And what do they really have to know? Sometimes do you really have to tell everybody? I don't mean everybody as being rude, because your mother is not everybody, but at the same time, should there be boundaries? Another example is respect should be equal. A wife respects her parents but insults her husband's parents every time. That is not right. The respect that you have for your parents, if you have one, is the same form of respect that you should give to your in-laws. People should not see their in-laws as not part of the family. In-laws are part of the family. The minute that you get married to this person, know that you're married to the entire family. So respect cannot and should not be one-sided. Another example is when relatives ask them to make decisions separately. So a husband says to his own family, I want to buy a land, I want to build a house, I want to commence on this project or this business, but I don't want my wife to be aware of it. And then you encourage that. Or the wife, does the same to her own family. I think what the parents should advise is, no, that's wrong. How can you build a house without your wife knowing? How can you build a house without your husband knowing? Definitely there's something going on. There's something going on that should be addressed, which is called communication or trust. I think families should encourage that. No, that's not the right step. So there should be unity between them, which family should encourage, and that will bring peace into that family. So for our listeners, I want to ask, is saying no to parents disrespectful? Should a husband or wife always put their wives first? How much influence should parents have over the marriage? Can in-laws strengthen a marriage? Where should healthy boundaries begin? If protecting your marriage disappoints your family, are you being disrespectful or responsible? If your spouse and your parents disagreed over something important, who should have the final say? So on this note, I want to say thank you for listening and being with me on today's program on Real Talk with Mrs. Pham. The purpose of marriage is not to replace your family, but to create a new one. The strongest families are those that know how to love without controlling. The strongest families are those that know how to love without controlling, advise without imposing, and support without interfering. So, honoring your roots matters, but don't forget that to protect the home you have built, you need to handle it with care. So thank you so much for joining me on Real Talk with Mrs. Pham. Thank you once again. Thank you every time. Until next time, healthy boundaries don't break families. They build strong relationships, they bring strong marriages, and they build stronger generations. God bless you and have a wonderful week. It is still Real Talk with Mrs. Pham, Olayinka Omotayo, aka Mrs. Pham. Till I see you again next week. Stay blessed.